Unfortunately, despite our best efforts, Harriet, as far as I'm aware so far, has been unable to join us. So as we are quite rehearsed in doing these webinars, we do have a little script that helps us follow along to make sure that it flows nicely and we fit within the half hour. So we do have Harriet's pages that she was going to share, and we do have the information behind them. So I think that Sam is going to be very helpful and do Harriet's chat for us today. So I do apologize for that inconvenience. So our first presenter was supposed to be Harriet Randall, and she is a science teacher at CM School of Technology in England. She teaches all areas of science to GCSE level, but her specialisms are chemistry and physics. And she is absolutely great what she's put together to talk about today. So I think that even though we're not going to be hearing her voice, you'll get a really good idea of some of the fantastic things that she's doing using this technology in her class. Our second presenter, Sarah Wright, is a primary teacher at Longton Lane Primary School in St. Helens, England. She's also a senior lecturer in active expression at Edge Hill University, and she's also one of our Promethean advocates. I'm Janice Pranstatter, and I'm your host and co-presenter for the afternoon. I am a teaching and learning consultant for the UK and Ireland for Promethean, and my colleague Samantha Clues, as I've mentioned, is also on the call tonight, and she'll be managing the chat for this session. Remember that if you do have questions, you can pose them using the chat and just select either Sam, myself, or your best option is all panelists to get everybody on there. On screen now, you can see some of the things that we will be covering in this session. These half-hour sessions tend to be packed with information and the pace quite quick. If you miss something, you can watch it again from the recording, which I will upload to my YouTube channel in a couple days after the session. So you just need to give me enough time to get it on. And that means that you can go back and watch that as many times as you can and pick up any of the information that you might have missed as we're going through it tonight. Your registration means that you're automatically set a link to that recording. So as I said, that will come out to you in the next few days. Again, remember using that chat facility if you've got any questions. Okay, so let's get started. So before I pass the webinar over to Sam to cover Harriet's part and Sarah as well, I want to take a moment to highlight some of the resources available within the ActivInspire software which can support science, learning, and teaching. So today I just happen to be using the studio skin of the software, but everything that we are demonstrating and sharing today can also be done in the primary skin. So you'll know your software and where things are located, so it's just finding them in that slightly different location. So the software comes with a selection of resources built into the main application. If you enter the resource browser by going into your browser window in Studio, my resource browser is the second one in, okay? And you can see it opens up my resources. If you are in the Studio skin, you'll know that you go into your resource browser through the icon on your main toolbar, okay? And it appears slightly different down at the bottom of the screen. All of the resources that you get are the same, though, for primary or secondary. So they are resources that can be used with any stage, age, and level within the school. So looking here, you can see that in my shared resources, so when I'm on my multiple people here, the first 5 files that I have are resources that actually install when you install the ActivInspire software. So these first 5 will install with the actual application. But what I have found quite often when I go out to schools is that a lot of the teachers I encounter are missing this resource pack here that's called Subjects, okay? Now this one is a supplementary download and install. So after you install your ActivInspire software, you should also take the time to download the main resource pack and then to install that, and that will go right into your software, okay? I'm just going to unmute Sam for a second. Sam, are you able to hear me okay? I saw a message coming in that somebody was having trouble with sound.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Just while I'm trying to fix that, can you quickly just show where the resource browser is found again?
Yep. Okay. So I already had my browser window open. It was just hiding off the edge of my page here. If you don't have that hiding off the edge of your page, you just go up to View and then click on Browsers, and then that opens up your browser again. Okay. So once again, it's hiding off the side there, and all I did was just pin that into place so that I could find it. The second browser in is my resource browser. So whenever I click on one of these icons, it'll tell me at the top which browser I'm on. So as I was saying, you need to make sure that you get this subject pack downloaded, and you can get that from the support tab on Promethean Planet website. So please make sure that you do have that. And the reason why I encourage you to make sure you get that is because of all these fantastic resources that you can find in there. And these are organized by subject headings. And you can see here that right away that we've got quite a few science-relevant resource packs available. In these, you have a variety. You often have supplementary or subfolders is the word I'm looking for. If I click on the subfolder, I can see the resources that are then available to me in them. Okay, and resources act in different ways depending on what type they are, but generally I can pick them up and pull them onto my page. And I wanted to show you this one here because this is a really nice little activity if you are teaching chemistry. We've got our little periodic table here, and let me see if I can get him to move. He doesn't want to click off. There we go. So it's an interactive flash periodic table, so I can hover over top and click on to get any more information about the elements. Okay, so things like this that you find in the supplementary, this main resource pack, so please do make sure that if you don't have it, that you download it from Promethean Planet. There is also a dozen more topic-specific science packs that can be downloaded free of charge from Promethean Planet, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about this towards the end of the session on where you can find these things as well. Okay, as all teachers know, time is a premium, and if you wanted, you could literally spend hours creating your own lessons. That's why I'm really delighted that some of the pages that Harriet has decided to share tonight are actually not ones that she created herself, but were created by different members on Promethean Planet. So going on to our sharing website, downloading another teacher's resources, and then using it, adapting it to suit her learners in her class. Okay, so the first few pages actually come from one flip chart from a member on Promethean Planet. And the flip chart is called Properties of Matter if you want to go back and have a look at that later. And it's available for anybody to be able to download and use. Now, as we weren't able to get Harriet connected, I am going to pass you on to Sam, and she's going to talk us through Harriet's pages tonight. So Harriet, sorry, Sam, if you want to jump in.
Thanks, Janice. So I'm playing the part of Harriet tonight, so I do apologise. But one of the major challenges that Harriet spoke to us about in science is that to get high marks and show good understanding, the students must also use the correct terminology. So when we were looking at examples to put together, she really liked this one because you can see that it's a problem of introducing lots of new terms all at once. And one of the ways that the software can help with that is to use the revealer to actually bring those terms in one at a time. The aim is obviously not to bombard students with terminology, but to ensure that they have I have the time, or the teacher has the time, to explain each term fully before they are distracted by the next term. Now, the example that Janice is showing at the moment only has 2 terms on it, but it really is a balancing act because you want to introduce similar terms or a group of terms at the same time if they are all relevant, but the idea is not to introduce too many, and that's why I really want you to highlight just how easy it is to use the revealer to bring things in at your own pace.
That's great. Thanks, Sam. I agree with Harriet that the reveal tool is a really great way to be able to pre-prepare the information that I plan to discuss in my class, and I can control when my class sees it. What's really nice about it as well is that it allows me to kind of react to the discussions that going on in my class as well, so instead of just bombarding them with all of that information all at once. Now, just to show you how you get that, if you've never used the revealer before and aren't sure where to find it, to put that on my page, I just want to go back over to my browser. I'm just going to pin it there again for a minute. And this time I'm going to go into my property browser. And yet again, when I click those icons at the top, you'll then see it tells me what browser I'm in. Now, because this is something that I'm putting on an entire page, I want to just make sure I've not clicked on one of the objects on my page, so that I get my page properties. And I want to go in Tools. And in this case, what I'm going to do is in the drop down next to Page Tools, select the Revealer tool. And that then puts that on my page. Okay. Now, it would normally come on full, but what I can do is I can click that little menu button here, and I have an option to save my Revealer position. So that's what we can see was done on this page, where it was saved in that position so that we could see the heading, or we could see a question that we wanted just at the top there. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that one off for a second. Now, another way that I can do the revealer is to actually use one of the shapes. And sometimes I like this because I like to be able to have that visual element of the software and still allow my class to be able to have something to look at on the board. So I can still have that image coming through the back, my title at the top, and any other information I'm not worried about hiding, and being able to click on that and then drag that down and have that same effect of a revealer, but instead I'm just using a shape to do that. Okay, so just a little bit of a variation on that. Right, Sam?
Yep, thank you. So in the next example, another way to bring in different things on a related topic is to set the information off the page, and then you're able to bring in that information one at a time, so just like Janice is doing now. So here, I've not just used Harriet hasn't just used terminology, but wider concepts that are linked again to the same theme. So it's all about controlling when and where the students access the information. But what I really like about this particular example is there's actually mini activities built in there as well. Now, they're very small, but it ensures that students are staying focused and with you. And having fun facts like the one at the end actually really helps keep groups interested, especially boys. Now, what Harriet told us is if she was using this in her classroom, she would introduce all this information as part of the kind of teacher information session, maybe at the beginning, but actually have several items set up around the classroom, maybe 20 things, that she wanted her students to identify and describe, and that actually links to the next page. Thank you. So the idea is that it's not just about identifying an item as a metal or non-metal like our previous page, or living or non-living. But students need to be able to describe things properly. So we're actually not just looking at science, but looking at a skill, an exam skill, and something that they can take out into life into other subjects. Now, this template can really help them to do that for science. So again, we would explain to the students what we want them to do, go around the classroom looking at these items, and maybe set them a target, maybe 5 or 6. And tell each student that I want them to describe that item, that each description should be 5 sentences as shown here, and I'll model one at the front, so show the support that's hidden underneath. The idea behind this activity, however, is that the children are physically moving around the classrooms doing their learning, but I've provided scaffolding at the front and would encourage students to come up and look at the board and move those hidden things away if they need that extra support, and then pull them back across. So that way I'm supporting all abilities because I've provided that structure, but I'm still fostering a culture of progress and expectation in my class.
Okay, thanks, Sam. I'm sorry, I've been looking at the chat coming in. So we've got lots and lots of questions coming in. So what I'm going to say is, just for the matter of tonight, I am going to save the chat after the webinar is finished. And what we'll do is we'll take some of those questions and get back to the participants, those of you that were able to join the call today, with some of those answers to the questions. We might be able to get Sam to go back and answer some of them through the chat once we get on to Sarah's part. But we're one man down tonight, so please do bear with us. As Sam was saying on this page, just like the other one, this is using a restrictor. So this shape is restricted to just move across the page. So as she said, when they're moving around the classroom, learners could come up, and if they were stuck, they could pull that back to help them give some cues on what they're supposed to be writing about as they're describing the properties of the type of matter that they're looking at. Okay, so pulling it back there. So restrictors are really effective. You've seen it this way, moving horizontally across the page, and this one we're moving vertically up and down the page. And that idea that I can have lots of information pre-prepared on my page, but I'm able to reveal them one at a time or use them as helpful tips for my students as the lesson progresses as well. If you do want to find out more about putting restrictors on, they really aren't difficult to do, but it just takes a little bit of know-how to figure out where to find out how you do it within the software. So we do have some really fantastic videos and manuals and support on Promethean Planet that takes you through these things. So on Promethean Planet, under Professional Development, I'm just going to quickly come to my page here to show you that. You've got Professional Development here, and I'm on the UK site, but you could also go on the International English site or the US site. You've got something called Videos, Manuals, and More. And under here, there's some really great help videos called Active Tips. And there's also some really great videos that take you through individual features of the software and tell you how to create within it. Okay, so I do recommend making sure that you get to Promethean Planet after this to learn how to do some of these things. Right, Sam, can you take us on to Harriet's next chosen page, please?
I can, yeah. So, as I said before, one of the things that we were trying to focus on is making sure that the terms that are used in science are used correctly and that students don't misquote them and actually do understand what they mean in terms of scientific properties. So often students think they understand the term, but they actually can't not using it in the right scientific language. So this simple drag and drop activity that was part of the flip chart can help identify where students need support and eliminate any misconceptions. It's a really nice starter just to see where they think they are, get individual students to explain what they think, and then we can address those right at the start of the lesson or right at the start of a topic. You could also reuse this type of template at the end of a topic and as we're going through, but also you can, Janice is going to show you how you can edit these terms so that once you've created a particular template, you don't have to start from scratch.
Great, thanks, Sam. So this is a really effective technique, and it has to do with layering. And again, layering is something that once you understand it, there's so much you can do within the ActivInspire software. There is a lot of really good support in that professional development area on Planet that takes you through layers and helps you understand how they work. So I'm just going to go up here to, I call it my little snowflake, and enter design mode for a minute. And what this allows me to do is then I can then pick up this little box. So if I pick this up and move that, you can then see all of these little terms that have been put underneath here. Okay, so Kimberly, who created this flip chart, has put them all under here. Okay, so Harriet really liked this page because it met the objectives of her lesson, and it meant that she didn't have to create everything from scratch. But what she had a problem with was that Kimberly, the creator of this flip chart, is American, based in American, and so therefore, understandably, American spelling is used. So anything that I download and open up in my own software from Promethean Planet can be edited for my own purposes. So in this case, I'm just going to ungroup that object, and I could just go into a text box, change the spelling so that I now have British spelling, UK spelling, select those two objects, group them together, and now you can see that I can tuck that back in there, and I've now adapted that lesson so that it's specific for the country that I'm teaching in. Okay, so we can very quickly adapt resources that are there. Okay, Sam?
Sorry, I was talking on mute then. So science is actually all around us, and often we don't actually see it as science. And one of the jobs that a science teacher has to do is to make students realise that what they're learning actually has a purpose. That's not necessarily that easy. So this activity on motion, although really just a very simple drag and drop, allows our students to see that what we're looking at is actually something relevant. So it could be the motion of a football or the motion that a plane makes as it's flying through the air. It may be that we're going to look at the forces that are involved in motion. But by using pictures and starting off small, students can identify the relevance to their lives early in the lesson and then are better able to relate that to subsequent activities. So again, this is another really good template because it uses pictures. So it means that you could adapt it to use it for things like classification of living and non-living things, or even different types of compounds and elements. But the idea is that once I've built the page, I can just edit it to suit my needs, and I don't have to keep building pages from scratch over and over again.
Thanks, Sam. This page uses the same idea as the page before, that idea of pulling objects out one at a time from behind a box. But what I really like about this page is that the way that it has been set up, it makes a 2D image look 3D. So I've got that element of it actually being able to pull things out of the box. Now this is just a really simple thing to do, and it's just a trick of getting to know your software. So again, I'm just going to go into design mode. And when I do that, I can select my box, and I'm just going to ungroup it. And you can see I actually use the software camera tool to take a snapshot of that part of the box, or the front of the box there. Sorry, I keep saying I didn't create this. This is another page that Harriet selected from the ones that she uses from Promethean Planet. So you can see here that in actual fact, I've got a snapshot of part of my box that sits on the top of all the other objects that I put on my page. So that means that when it's locked in place, I can then pull them out one at a time to reveal them. Okay, so really quite nice and not too difficult to learn how to do that as well. Now just keeping on that with adapting these pages, as simple as things like, I might not actually like this particular background. I find that some of my learners are having difficulty reading some of the words on it. So I can do things as simple as going into my background, finding a pattern that I like, and trying it out, putting something different behind it. So you can see how quickly I can adapt my pages and change them to suit just how I want them to be. Okay, Sam?
That's okay. So what we wanted to emphasize at this point is that it's not just starters and the teacher input that the board can help you with. You can actually use it to structure your main activity ideas as well, because they can be explained and modeled too. So on this particular example, we were looking at the structure of an atom, and students are able to drag up the right bits, so the electrons, neutrons, and place them in the right area in the diagram. So we can have that whole class discussion to talk about it, and they may have the physicals as well on their desk. Now at Key Stage 3, so for those of us that are working in the UK system, so that's up, that's Year 7, 8 and 9, this would be used here just as it's shown. But if we were to extend that up to Key Stage 4, which is our GCSE classes, so that is years 10 and 11, so up to the age 16 for everybody else, then it's a really nice activity to extend. So we would give our students an element from the periodic table, maybe using the examples that Janice showed earlier from the resource library. Again, I'm not having to build it, But by doing this together, refreshing everything, giving them that element, and then asking the students to show the structure of the atom they've been given, I'm actually extending that activity. So this tests lots of different pieces of our students' knowledge in one go.
Thanks, Sam. I'm sure that everybody's horrified by the lovely atoms that I've been demonstrating, how we can create them there, just pulling those little pieces onto it. I'm sure that they weren't actually anything anybody would be able to identify. But you get the idea of that simple drag and drop with that image, being able to pull it on, but the versatility of the page, so the different ways that I can build on that knowledge and increase the difficulty as my learners progress, but still being able to use that same page across the different levels as well. Okay, Sam?
Thanks. So Harriet's final example is again something that students may have on their desk as a worksheet for the main part of the lesson. And what this example is showing is actually a table. So we've got all the different types of formats that an examiner is going to ask for, and asking the students to see how they are linked together and not just as individual objects. Now, the idea of this page is that we can model one of the elements to explain to students what we want to do, or we can model parts of them if needed, but I can get then students to share their ideas on the board after the activity. What's great about this is that at any point you can actually reveal the answer and check the results. So as we all know, marking can be a long and protracted process, but by using examples like this and then peer marking or self-marking, we can actually cut down on the amount of time that we're spending physically looking at books and going through every single example. So we're doing it together as a class as we're going through, and we're able to manipulate and feed back our examples as we're working.
That's great. So you can see here I've been playing around with the page a wee bit. So I can do things like my little action objects here, and in the browser, we've got an action browser, and we've got some really nice little drag and drop actions. And these allow me to do things like drag a little icon here that when I click on that will automatically open my pen for me. Okay, so these little drag and drop ones are really helpful here. The other action that we used is attached to that word answer. I actually have the answer for the activity. So after we've discussed it, we've done it, we've run through it on our own, they've done it at their desks, they shared their ideas, we put it up on the board. We can then check and make sure that all my learners go away knowing that correct answer. So I can have everything that I need at any stage of that lesson right there on my board, on my page, ready to go. Okay, thank you very much, Sam, for sharing, picking up Harriet's ideas. I think you did a very good job of it. Again, this is why we practice these kind of things beforehand for any difficulties that do happen on the actual night. So I hope that you've gotten some really good ideas out of there, and you've seen some things that you would be able to take back and use with your class. And remember that there are thousands of user-created flip charts on Promethean Planet, and you can download these, open them up in your own software, and then edit to make relevant for your own situation. Now I'm just going to go back into participants and unmute Sarah, and I'm going to get Sarah to take us through the next few pages. So Sarah's going to be looking at pages that have a slightly more primary focus. Okay, Sarah? Oops.
Brilliant. Hi, everyone. The first page that we're going to look at is, are we looking at this? Oh, we're going to look at this one. Okay. Yeah, the first page, brilliant, thank you. The first page that we're going to look at is a sound sorting activity. So when I'm looking at sound, I want it to do it in a really practical way, in something that's investigative, that's interesting, but you know that that's going to come with problems. It comes with problems with classroom management. It comes with problems with having physical resources. But I want to give them that excitement of exploring and investigating a concept. So what I've created here is a really simple Venn diagram. So again, I'm getting my numeracy in across the curriculum as well. You'll see along the bottom of the page that there are lots of little speaker icons, and these actually link directly to the sounds. So the first thing that I'd do is I'd have the children coming up to the board, make the board the real focus of the activity and get them to play the sounds, discuss them, get that dialogue going. I might even record what they're doing at the board as evidence so I can see what they've been saying. Then I'd get the children to label the Venn diagram. Again, I'm going for those higher order thinking skills, and it's just a really simple activity, caters for lots of learning styles, and they're really easy to transfer.
Okay, that's great, Sarah. You can see me trying to write one of my labels up there. So we can get them to decide how they want to be able to sort the sounds. And just so you can hear, we've got a little sound file. And we get that was a lion's roar, just for anybody that didn't hear it. Okay, so we can have these little sounds that they can then use. The sounds that Sarah has used here actually come from the resource library. And as I showed you, when you install the software, one of the files that should automatically install this is this one here called sounds. So you've got quite a lot of sounds there. Now you can also record your own sounds to put on. So I just go into my tools, more tools, and you've got a sound recorder here as well. So once your students have learned these, are using these sounds quite confidently, you could actually get them to record their own sounds to be able to use as well. Okay, Sarah?
Okay, so again, this is utilising the board as a really key teaching tool in the classroom, not just as something that's got a display on it at the front of the room, but as an opportunity to really enhance the learning through peer communication and through presentation by the children. You'll see what we've got set up here is something that you'd probably see on a worksheet, but what we get here is the dialogue. So if I had children doing this on paper, they could quite easily see the options at the bottom, start guessing them, but by doing them on the board, I'm really getting those higher order thinking skills going. So I'm wanting the children to move up to the board, to move one of the options in, but while we're doing so, to explain and justify the choices, so I'm instantly enhancing the learning that's happening.
And again, keeping with that idea of, getting that discussion, so they're all talking, they're all working on this together. As we said, they might be doing some of it in pair work or individual work at the desks first, and then coming back and discussing it and reporting it with a big image on the interactive display. I always want to make sure that those students, I leave those students who are maybe finding this not the easiest, going away knowing that correct answer. So what we've actually got set up on the page that you can't see is something called tooltips. So with a tooltip, when I hover over a certain part of my screen, you'll notice that the tooltip comes up. So right away I can say, we got that one wrong, let's try that again. Okay, so hovering over the different parts, you can see them. Tooltips are really easy to do. All I need to do is I select the object I want a tooltip to be on. Then I'm going to go into my browser, and this time it's looking at the properties of that object, and I want to go under label. So I could type in rain, and I'm just going to change the size so you can see that start to come up. I can change various other properties on it, but the biggest thing is I want to change the behavior. Instead of always on, I want to make that a tooltip. So now you can see when I hover over that cloud, it comes up with that tooltip. So we've got that confirmation that that's the correct answer, and I make sure all my learners go away knowing what the answer is.
Okay, so topic vocabulary. We know that they need to know it, they need to be able to spell it and recognise it, but it's something that we quite often forget to reiterate throughout a unit. And I think this is because it can be something that's seen as quite dry, or it can become very repetitive. But by presenting it in the form of a puzzle, it gives me something that's easy to prepare, really engaging starter or plenary, and again, it gives me an opportunity for some great dialogue. Simple questioning, what words would you expect to be there, will really quickly help me measure what the children already know.
Okay, so what we've got here is anagrams, and we've got the anagram on top, and underneath the anagram we've got what the correct word is. Okay, so you can see I can rub out the word on the top to reveal what's on the bottom. So a really clever little idea of getting them involved. I can also do things such as this with little tools that I can make to do that same thing. So I've got this little reveal tool. So what I've got is an image, and inside the image I've used that magic ink to create a space that allows me to look through. So the way this works is that the anagram is on the top layer of the software, and the correct word is on the middle layer of the software. Magic ink only works on the top layer, objects on the top layer, so you can see there that I can rub out to reveal that. In actual fact, I haven't rubbed anything out. I've just put an object that is transparent, translucent on top layer object, so we can see the top layer to see the middle layer through that. Really, really clever trick, and there are loads of support on Promethean Planet for this. If you do a search under resources on that front page, just at the top, doing a search for resources and put in Magic Ink, there's a lot of really great user-contributed tutorials on how to create using this feature yourself. So I do recommend you have a look there.
Okay, so moving on to this slide, you'll see that I've got a video prepared for the children to watch. Using a video, an online resource, or a simulation of something you just can't do in the classroom, a really good way to break up the lesson. But by using the embedded HTML option, I'm not spending precious time opening tabs or searching for links. My video is ready at the click of a button, and it's a great time saver during busy practical sessions.
Okay, so you can see there that we've got a YouTube video embedded right into a flip chart. So I don't have my web page popping up with lots of information around the side that's distracting them, information that isn't relevant. I can embed that right into my flip chart and be able to play that as well. Okay, so a great feature. Now, putting HTML in to a web page is not difficult. Just up to Insert, Link, and then you've got your Embed HTML option. Once again, there is support on how to do this on Promethean Planet. One thing I do just want to point out, though, is if you are going to be wanting to do this from a YouTube video, and I'm just going to take my cat lock off and just really quickly give you a little hint here. So I'm just going to choose this Simon's Cat one. And what I want to do on YouTube is go down here where it says Share, and then I want to get the embed code. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that code. I could decide that I wanted a different video size, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. And then I'm going to go back to my flip chart. So I just insert another page, and this time insert link embed HTML, and I just want to paste that code in there. Now, one tip is you have to go back into that code, and just where after the speech mark and before the // I want to put an HTTP : okay, and then click OK, and you can see that that video is now embedded onto my flip chart page. Not difficult to do, but just that little tip with using YouTube, you always need to make sure that you put the HTTP in before the : www.youtube, etc. Okay. So thank you very much for that, Sarah. That's great, those examples, and such exciting, simple things to do as well. So you don't need to spend hours creating these resources yourself. Pages can be very simple and still have that great wow factor. And in fact, sometimes the more complicated the page is, you can have that less interaction and that less engagement. So they don't have to be really difficult, just the nice simple features of the software as we've shown. So I hope that you've all been able to find something good to take back to your classroom. So just to finish off, I want to just give you another little quick bits of information on a couple more things. So first of all, taking a look at next steps. So where can you go after today to find out more? Because I know that this is a huge amount of information that we've given you. So Promethean Planet is always the best place to go for advice and ideas on how to use ActivInspire and your interactive displays in schools. On here, you can search, view, and download thousands of teacher-created resources that are shared for free use. So this is not only Promethean flip charts, but you also have resource packs to install within your software, as well as PDF documents, video files, web links, loads of different resources that are available to you there. Okay. A search for appropriate resources can be easily done by typing in a keyword in the field search. So if we go back here, you could just type in a keyword up at the top here. But even better than that is using this advanced search. Advanced search means that you can narrow down, you can put filters on your search to narrow things down to look more specifically at what you want. So you can look at things that have a particular age range assigned to them, or possibly a language, or developed in a certain country in the world as well. So there's lots of options available to you on there. The blogs and forums on Promethean Planet are also another great user-contributed resource. And under the curriculum, there is one for science. So do have a look there and see what other people are saying and how other people are using the software and the board in their science classrooms. As I've already mentioned several times in this session, under professional development, there's a lot of great support here, and in particular under the videos, manuals, and more. There's the great little video tutorials on ActivInspire. So we used to have free training courses, introductory courses that you could join. They've now taken all of those and created little video tutorials for you. So they are worth having a look. We also have the active tips on there, which are fantastic as well. We also have themes on Promethean Planet. There's quite a few. This is only 5 of many science-related themes on Promethean Planet. And what these do is they bring together flip charts, resources, web links, information on teaching these science subjects in your classroom. So they are a really great place to go and have a look. We also have publisher-created content. So this is available on the Promethean shop. Content is by flip chart, so you don't have to spend loads and loads of money. And these are high quality resources created in ActivInspire by publishers that relate to various books and publications that they already have available. So just to finish off, as I mentioned at the beginning, Sarah is actually one of our Promethean advocates in the UK and Ireland. Now this is a program that we only have over here, but if you do happen to be a teacher in the UK and Ireland, and you enjoy using education technologies in your class, and you enjoy collaborating with other teachers, and you love Promethean stuff, I've got my email address there. If you do want to find out more about the Promethean Advocate Program, we are looking to get another couple members to join our group this year. My contact details and Sam's contact details, so if you do have any questions, please get in touch. I've also put up our Twitter handle there, so if you are on Twitter, we always love to have more followers. We're at Promethean UK and I. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, and I do apologize for the little bit of technical difficulties that we have. The session has been recorded, and as I said, I will take that chat and make sure that we come back to some of the questions that we weren't able to answer on the call tonight. I am conscious that we've overrun a little bit, so I really don't want to keep you anymore. But thank you very much for joining us tonight, and I hope that you found it useful. Sarah and Sam, do you want to say bye?
Bye, everybody. Thank you very much. Someone's just asked you to put the back up, please.
Sure.